So this is what we're working towards. You're making a letterhead for a photographer, and you're putting a lot of little images and a lot of little text and things inside of it. Most everybody was able to reach this point, or close to this point, last class period. I think most people would be able to finish it up by the end of today. So what I'm going to do is I'll let today be the last day for this project. We'll move on to the next one. Next one usually takes a little bit more time, so I want to give you more time to work on it. Let me show you one thing that I kind of went quickly over regarding the little frames down here at the bottom. Of course, whenever you have content or whenever you have something you want to put on the page, it has to be inside of a frame. If you want text, make a text frame. Picture frames, make sure you use the rectangle frame instead of just the regular rectangle. If you see a rectangle and there's no X going through it, it just means it's a regular vector shape. Versus if I use a frame, that's what I want to be able to see. I want to be able to place content into it. The quick, easy way of making multiple frames is to use your arrow keys. When I press multiple times, I can make several all at once. The book is going to ask you to space these out evenly and adjust the size of it. I've got them all selected now. If I use my selection tool, if I was to go and resize the side of it, you can see it automatically just kind of changes the size of them and squishes them all together. What I want to do is not change the size of it, but change the position of it. And you can do this as well using your selection tool. I'm going to click and hold on a reference point. Then with my mouse still held down, I'm going to hold the space bar and click and drag. And you get an idea of what it's doing. It's moving their position and not just their size of it. So the space bar is what allows me to do that. That's what's happening down here. Usually when you set these up, however, it's just a very slight thing, so you don't get the dramatic what you're seeing up here, but you're just resizing and repositioning it from there. So that's what's going on with that. The second thing, if we need to place content, so let me place, say, the, well, we'll do all the pictures. I've got the thumbnails down here. Remember, you go to File, Place, Command D is the keyboard shortcut. I remember that for Command Drop, like you're dropping them in. If you select multiple files, so all of these thumbs, I'm going to hold down Shift and select it. It'll follow your cursor, and you can see I've got 8 pictures loaded up. As long as you click on a frame, it'll place your content inside of that frame. If you don't have a frame selected, so for instance, I'm going to put the logo up top here, which will be this Illustrator file. InDesign can handle a variety of file formats. Later on, you'll see you can place a Photoshop file and actually tell it exactly what layer you want on here. But Illustrator files will also work just as good. Anyway, place. In this case, I'm going to place the logo, hit it open. I don't have a frame up here, but I can just click once. It'll automatically place it and put it into a frame. It's going to ask you to move it and resize it. The book will tell you specifically where to place it and how to resize it. But if I just click on the frame itself and not the content, it's going to crop it off. If I click inside of it on the little dealy bob in the center, I can change up the picture but not the frame. What's wrong with this? And when I scaled it? Yeah, I lost my proportions. One thing to do, whenever you scale something, make sure you hold your Shift key, and that will always keep it proportional. That way you don't skew it or make it too stretched or squashed out. The other keyboard shortcut, if you hold down Shift and Command at the same time, you can do both the frame and the content inside of it. And that's the easiest, quickest way to place things into here. Here's the other thing to keep in mind. I've placed a vector file into here. Now, vector is known for giving you good quality graphics. Does that look like a good quality graphic? Not really. I can see all the jagged edges. It looks pixelated. It doesn't look good at all. Even if I look down here at my pictures, I know the pictures are small, but when I zoom in, I'm losing the good quality of what makes up those pictures by itself. If I was to send this to the printer, however, it will still print perfectly. Here's what's going on. InDesign, in order to handle and juggle lots of text and lots of pictures, is going to dumb down the quality of any images you place in there. And it's only going to do that for the display purpose only. You can change the display quality of it. Let me zoom back into our logo and show you it working. If you go up to View, down to your Display Performance, by default it's going to be set to typical quality. And so this is what you're getting. You're just getting kind of a dumbed down typical quality image. If you swap over to high quality, now you can see it at full resolution and it'll show your graphics looking very nice. A lot of students, they'll start working on something, they'll say, hey, I had this really good looking image and now it looks horrible in InDesign. What's happening is, in order to display, especially if you're working on a laptop and not have to overwork your processor, it's displaying it at a lower quality. If you set it to a higher quality, it's going to run slower. You can see now that looks a whole lot better at high quality than it did lower quality. If I swap back to Display Performance, Typical, there's that. If you set it to fast display, so if you're working on an older computer or it's just getting bogged down, it won't show any images at all. They'll just put kind of a placeholder image inside of that. So usually I keep working in typical quality to place those. Here's the second problem that often comes up. Before we left last time, I gave you a fair warning to always save your folder or your file in the same folder as the rest of your content. So I've got my InDesign file inside of all of my pictures and also my Illustrator file as well. The reason why is because InDesign looks at your content the same way a web page looks at content, in that it links to it. On a web page, if you click on something, it goes to another area of the web that's going to be linked to it. It's a broken link if that content is ever moved or erased. Same way in InDesign. I've even got a palette over here that will show me all of my links that I'm using in my document. You can see all of my thumbs. There's my little logo from here. It even gives the page that it's on. Watch what happens if I move this thumbnail. Right now this folder that it's in is on my desktop. If I moved it out of the folder, say thumbnail 6, 7, and 8, to my desktop, when I go back into here, it's giving me an error. It's saying, hey, I can't find those links anymore. And so I have to be able to either fix the link or change the image by itself. If that ever happens, if you ever move a file or place it in another folder, here's how to relink to your images in your document. You can either double click on the little icon, and it's going to ask you to find where is, in this case, thumbnail number 6. I know I've got it on my desktop, and so I can select number 6 and say open. And it's saying, hey, in redoing that, I found other 2 missing links. Do you want to link to those as well? We'll say okay. And then it picked up on 7 and 8 being on the desktop from there. The other thing that you could do is simply find it and move it back into the original folder. In this case, since I have to relink it, got to find them again and relink to them this time. The other thing that'll happen, let me go ahead and relink these. So there's number 8. We'll update those. Is if you change a file or change and alter anything, it'll also give you a little error. Let's say I opened up my Crow Illustrator file. If I didn't want the word photography to be in black, so I selected it and we'll turn it to something like red. I'm in Illustrator, so I'll save the file that I have. Are you sure? We'll say okay. When I close it out, so this has been updated. When I jump back into InDesign, I get a little warning icon saying, hey, it's not missing, it's been modified. And so you need to update the link to that modified image that you have. Easiest thing to do is to double click on the little warning. And then now you can see my photography logo has been updated by itself for that as well. This is especially good if you're working on something like a newspaper or a magazine layout and your content is constantly changing. You got multiple people working on the same thing. Make sure everybody saves everything to the same folder or the same kind of structure, else you've got to go back, fix all of your links. If I tried to send something to a printer or save it as a PDF, it would be a low quality image if it's missing a link or an image has not been updated from there. All cool? Any questions on that? Any other issues that came up last time you were working? I feel like Dora the Explorer. Have you ever seen that where she asks a question and then she waits and then she gives you the answer? That's what, okay, never mind. All right, I'll stop recording.